Okay, here we are, Minchas Chinuch, Mitzvah Shin Lamed Vav in the Machon Yerushalayim. It's Chelik Beis Amud Taf Kuf Yutes. We're middle doing of Kinyanim, and it's the mitzvahs Asiyas Din Ben Lakeach Meicher. As always, we're a few minutes late here, but in this year in progress, I want to dedicate the schus of the Limud HaTorah from tonight for the Refuah Shleima of Sayah Chaved Bas Chana Masha. And I want to thank and acknowledge the wonderful efforts of the very worthy organization, TorahAnytime.com, that makes these shiurim available to many people who cannot attend in person. Okay, so we're in the middle of talking about Chazaka, and we're now going to quote what he says, a Mishnah Melech, a Chakira, a suffix that the Mishnah Melech brings. Okay, so for those of you who are following in the Machon Yerushalayim, it's Amud Tov Kuf Yutes Ois Gimel in the middle of the piece. Well, Mishnah Melech Kan Perakal of Allah Ches maybe should stop Luchach Me'adar the Moicha Soda Hamuskeres. Gewalt. The Moicha Soda Hamuskeres. Okay, so here's the situation. Hypothetically, Ruvain. Let's wait for the noise to stop, and then I'll put it on vibrator. It's okay. Okay, stop. Okay, shut. Okay. So, Ruvain has rented out his field to Levi, let's say for a term of 2 years. Shimon wants to buy it. Can Shimon do a Kinyanim Chazaka in order to buy it? Okay? Can Shimon go into the field currently occupied by Levi and bust the fence and lock the door? And one of the ways that are clear in all the Paiskim that they're a valid Kinyanim Chazaka, they both demonstrate ownership and their moyel lakarka. Okay, if the new owner attempts to acquire a piece of land that way, is it valid or not? The Mishnah Melech says that Chachmei Adar Shalafonov had a suffix about that, argue about it. Yes, I would.
But for sure he's not kicking the tenant off the...
No.
Just can he make a chazaka while the tenant living there?
Exactly. Okay. The Kinyan Kesef for Shtar Mahani. For the new owner to acquire a piece of land currently occupied by a renter through Kesef for Shtar, that certainly works. Kivin the Haguf Shalom Masker. The way it's a time release kinyan. You're doing the Maisa kinyan now, and it'll be chal. The guf hakarka will be sold and will come back into the new owner's possession when the term of the rental, the term of the lease is up. To say that a lekeach, a new buyer, could acquire land occupied right now by a seicher, by a renter, through a Kinyanim Chazaka, that's questionable. Why? Is it really shaykh? I mean, the whole taich, the whole real definition of a rental, is other than the dry body of the thing that I'm renting out. Every other describable schus of ownership, I've sold temporarily.
Isn't this chaychiris?
What?
Isn't this? It's a chaycher. Isn't that the word for rental? Like a sharecropper, there's a sharecropper and there's a renter. Like a guy that rents the field and you work out with him a deal so that you get a certain percentage of the produce.
Okay, that's a sharecropper. Yes, that's chachirus. Chaycher. Yeah, but what difference does it make if you're paying Lagabi this din of whether the lekeach should be able to acquire it with chazaka? Would it make a difference if you're paying in cash or if you're paying a percentage of the produce? I guess if you want to get lumdish, you could say, how do we look at a sharecropper paying? Is it pshat that the owner still retains the ownership of all the fruits? Yeah, just he made up with a chayker that he can acquire 90% of the fruits by delivering 10%. Or is it pshat all the payers belong to the chayker just with the regular chayker? Right? Just they made up, instead of giving a flat rate, you owe me X amount of dinarim every year, you owe me a percentage of the crops. If it's a bumper crops, I'll get more. If it's less, I'm gambling. I'm gambling that you'll be a good farmer. Right? But I don't see either way. I really can't see why it would make any difference. The point is, that the one who's the balabas, the one who is going to be fencing this field, or widening the fence, or fertilizing it, or doing anything that's ma'al l'karka, is the seicher, or the chayker, not the masker. Correct? That's the point. The point is, can you use chazaka, which the definition of the kinyan chazaka is demonstrating bailus, when in its essence that bailus has been ceded to somebody else temporarily.
You can't.
Well, it's a machlokes.
Well, what's the side that says that you can? How does that work?
I would have to look up the Mishnah Malach and say.
Oh.
I mean, my guess would be, okay, that the whole thing is symbolic, so to speak. Not really, or it's like as I get to the other bank kachas. A second after you do the Ma'aser Kinyan, which demonstrates bailus, you'll talk a bit about. But while you were doing the Ma'aser Kinyan, you weren't the baal yet. You know what I mean? It's, chalipin is also symbolic. Kesef in a certain sense is also symbolic. So remember when we were learning about the Kinyan Kesef, a lot of Rishon learn it's not a down payment. Yeah, there's a lien. There's a chayiv, a chiyav, a chayzer. Whatever you made up for the purchase price of the property, you owe it. Yeah, but you can buy a 1,000,000-acre field with a pruta. You can buy an isha shleima with a shav pruta. You can buy an eved with a shav pruta. You can buy a field with a shav pruta. The kesef later is a separate thing. Even if when you buy with a star, we said the ink and the paper and everything together doesn't have to be worth a shav pruta. You still owe the full amount of the karka. All right, so the kinyanim, the means of acquisition are not, they're more theoretical and symbolic than really starting the Bible, so to speak.
Right.
So if you say, okay, chazaka is on the same level, right? So then why not? As long as the seicher, is cooperative. If when he sees you approaching with a hammer and a nail, to add another picket to the fence, he doesn't meet you with a shotgun. All right? As long as he's cooperative. So what do I care that Lamaisa, you are a trespasser. This is not something you should be doing. The Seicher has that right? They have to expand the fence, to constrict the fence, and so on. I don't know. I mean, I'm just taking an educated guess without reading the Mishnah Melech inside. Like you were saying, you're lamdish, you're mechav into the ketais. So it brings from the Maramintz that chazaka in such a situation, Reuven is the owner, Levi and Maskir. Levi is the seicher. Shimon wants to be the nulakeach, that Shimon make the chazaka on the field that Levi's renting wouldn't work. Kivin de lehayachal ishtamish ata kiyat ashmishim shayacham lacher. It has to be ma'al l'karka. But first and foremost, it has to demonstrate bailus. And if the tashmish of the field, does not become yours through the chazaka, so then what was your chazaka?
I don't see any way around that.
What?
I don't see any way around that. I mean, if there's a machlokas, I guess there is, but I can't grasp how. Maybe like you're saying, symbolic. Yeah.
I mean, the truth of the matter is, that if we would parse it, if we would take a stroboscopic photograph of every machzik, of everyone who tries to be kind, it's straightforward. Reuven is selling a field to Shimon. So for the first moment, he's a ganav. He's a trespasser. Right. He's whatever you want to call him, a gazlan, a ganav.
Right. So what should be different in this? So there's no difference.
What?
So then there shouldn't be any.
No. So that's the tzad that it should work. That's the tzad that it should work. Okay. Fine. I'm again. This slide unseen. Without looking up the Mishnah Malach inside. Kivin deloy hayachol l'shtamish ata ki atashmish hayachol ma'ayin shem shekaz davnach b'shas v'bas l'amazan alaf. Okay. U'lochayv after l'haksha is b'shas the git nine zayin on bay is got to be ahush chedmara. The talk of le'alma. Okay. Here's the situation. This is more or less. This is the Gemara we got up to last time. But just let me refresh your memories. What's going on over here? Okay. There's a concept in Hilchos Gittin called Shalei Tipo Kamei Yavam. Sometimes the whole function of the get, is that a person knows that the end is near. He's childless, but he does have a brother. And he also has a wife. Okay. Now, if he dies without issue, the din is there's something called Yivim. Okay. If there's no Yivim, there has to be Chalitza. Until there is one of those two. Okay. In particular, until no, she's not Ashes. It's called that is what's called Yavama L'Shuk. So it's alive. Okay. But the point is that a halacha abiding Jewish woman, is not going to marry anyone other than her brother-in-law until her brother-in-law is kind enough to give her chalitza. Right? So it's a shal of igun, and especially what happens if you have a situation where the surviving brother is interested in marrying a sister-in-law, but she's not, or where the sibling rivalry going on, and the thing that's being matrid, the shchimara, the guy who's about to die his mind, is not that he's about to meet his maker and he have to spend 11 months in hell. That doesn't bother him. What bothers him is the thought that his brother might marry his wife. Yeah, and even more depressing is that his wife might be a willing participant. And consider it an upgrade. Whatever. There could be a lot of different motivations, but the bottom line is there's such a concept in Hilchos Gittin that a man would give his wife a get for no other purpose than the words of the Gemara, Shlei Tipo Kamei Yavam. She shouldn't fall to the Yavam. It's a halachic term. It doesn't mean fall in love. It means she shouldn't be Zakuk L'Yivim. She shouldn't have to come on to him either for Yivim or Chalitz. She should be a free woman. Yeah? Your brother's divorcee doesn't fall to you in Yivim, even if subsequent to the divorce you die. It's only if you were married at the moment of decease, then there's a din of Zikas Yivim.
Shalei Tipo Isha L'Yavam?
Shalei Tipo Kamei. Kami means Lifnei Hayavam. Okay? Fine. So, what happens when you have a case like this? Okay, that's point number one to know. Point number two to know is that there's something called a Kinyan Agav, which is we've been studying for the last several sessions here the dinim of Kinyanim as they apply to Karka, also known as Nechasim Sheish L'Machrayas. Okay, property which you could put a lien, which you could put a mortgage on. Okay, but there's also something called metaltalin, movable property, and movable property has some kinyanim in common with karka, but some that have nothing in common with karka. However, here's an interesting thing. Let's say I want to purchase from somebody karka and metaltalin at the same time.
Right.
Yeah? So then the rule is nechasam she'ein lahem achrayas, aka metaltalin, movable property, niknim al gav Nechasim sheyesh lahem achrayas, bekesef b'shtar u'chazaka. Kesef, shtar, chazaka are normally not kinyanim that work for metaltalin. But if you are purchasing real estate, if you're purchasing karka, then you make the kinya on the karka, and title and ownership is transferred on the metaltalin automatically.
It was in the house, the lamps and things like that is the deal.
Well, if you make up. If make up those are being sold to.
That's a metaltalin, the lamp. It would be on the back of Al-Gad.
Right. Okay. And there's another concept called Kinyachatzer. Kinyachatzer is that what is put into my property, even into my yard, it doesn't have to be the firm walls of my house, it can be the flimsy front yard or backyard. Things that are put onto my property are acquired in that way. Movable property that is put geographically onto my property, I acquire that. Okay? Fine. All right, now let's take a look at this Gemara he's quoting. There was a shchib which means a dying person. The talk of Layal means the world got strong, and it means he understands he's expiring. He's more than a terminal patient. He understands he only has a few minutes left to live. V'chulu. Rava gave an eitzah. Let's say the guy wants to pater his wife from Yivim. What should he do? So Rava is like this: the yikna lo hachatzer shaget munach b'seichet. He has a get written up for the wife. Yeah, he's makna to her the chatzer, the room, the apartment, the yard, where the get is located, and in so doing, she acquires the get. Right? The Ikshalai Ravilish, Ashakanzi Shakanza Bala Einshan. Yeah, Ravilish asks over there, what do you mean? Whatever she acquires is still his? Right?
That's why. I was going to say, why can't you just give it to her while he's no? Wait. The shaila is, when is he giving her the chutzner? When he dies?
No, before.
No, before. She's got to be divorced at least 1 second before his decease. This isn't a Yerusha of any kind. This is
so why does he just give her the get? Why does he have to?
She's not there. Or the get's not there. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Remember, you can do long distance kinyanim on karka. You could pay with kesef for a parcel of land that's halfway around the world, or write a shtar. Right? Okay. Let's see where he's going with this. Okay.
So what does he do?
He's makna to her.
Yeah.
The let's say there's one room in his house. The guy owns a 20-room mansion. Yeah. And the third guest bedroom. Yeah.
There's the get.
There's a get there. So he's makna to her that karka. And now that the karka belongs to her, her karka, it would be just as if he threw the get into a chutzah that she already owned.
And the shaila is that he can't be makna her anything because she's married to him.
That's a shaila of Gemara.
Right.
So what does that have to do with our discussion about schiras? Let's see. Okay. You interested in knowing the Gemara's answer?
Yeah.
Gemara's answer is Gita v'yadeh ban kachad. The same theory that allows an avaknani to accept his own shtar shecher. What do you mean? How can he? Mashakana rabbi. How can he ever give a get shecher to
back to the owner?
Yeah, it's like taking the get shecher out of your right pocket and putting it into your left pocket. So then we say no, it's not a left pocket. It's an avid. It's a human being. His hand is like your hand, but it's simultaneous. The kinyan that sets him free, and his capacity to act as an independent human being to make kinyanim, that happens simultaneously. Okay, so it's the same kind of idea over here. Gita, the divorce that relieves her from the marriage, the yada and the yad, or in this case the chatzar, yeah, that allows it to make kinyanim independent of her husband. Blind kacha, they come as one. That's the Gemara's answer. But I don't think the Minchas Chinuch is interested in Gemara's answer. I think he's interested in the Gemara's question. Let's read on. That whole Gemara is shver on the Rambam. That says as follows: the chatzar muskeres kainel masker. A chatzar that is rented out, yeah. If something falls into that chatzar, or if something is put into the chatzar, yeah. The seicher does not acquire it. The masker, that's part of owning the guf akarka. Kinyan chatzar works by ownership of the guf, not by ownership of the kinyan peiros.
This is what
of the produce.
Says in that halach over there.
Yes.
He says that it's the muskeris is not the one. The masker is the one who gets actually koneh.
Right.
So according to that svara, you'd have a kasha.
No, there wasn't articulate the kasha. What's the question?
Well, the kasha before was that as soon as she's koneh, she's the one who's is the lokeach of that room or the chutz or whatever. So she's lokeach. So then she acquired the thing here. It says, but it's not so. The maskir is the one who's koneh. According to Rambam, the maskir.
Who's the maskir? The husband or the wife?
The husband.
Why do you say that?
Because he's the one who gave it the get or gave it the room. Who was makna the room or the chutzah to her. So she is the koneh.
Right.
Right, but here he's saying the koneh.
But why do you think he's renting it to her? Maybe he's giving it to her outright.
Okay, so whether he use the renting or lokeach, whatever.
No, it's a big difference. When you give something to somebody outright, then they own both the guf and the peiros. Schiras is a legal construct, where one owner retains the guf and another owner acquires the peiros. But a straightforward mechira or a straightforward matana, before the mecher and the matana, the marikama owned both the guf and the peiros, and afterwards the lekeich owns both the guf and the peiros. Okay, let him finish. Let's not. It's never good policy to stop an achor in the middle of his kasha. Okay. So imkein nehida kana bal mashakon saisha hanel peiros vaguf shala. You have to understand something about the whole relationship between a Baal and an Isha. The nature of Yad Evet Ki Yad Rabbi is qualitatively different than the nature of Mashakana Isha Kana Baila. In an Evet Kanani, he picks up a Mitzvah in the street. Everything about that Mitzvah, the guf, its productive capacity, everything about it belongs to his other. Yeah. When we say Mashakana Isha Kana Baila, if the woman, if somebody gifts the woman a parcel of land, she's got the Kinyan Aguf, and the husband has the Kinyan Paris. If the marriage will dissolve, it'll go back to her, right? So they've got you have the roles reversed. Okay, the relation. If he gives her a piece, he's not different than if a guy at the street would give her a piece of land or a room in his house, right? By whatever Kinyan, I don't have the Gemara in front of me. I don't know what means of acquisition was used, but whatever legal Kinyan they used, yeah. So even if you hold Mashakana Isha Kana Baila, but that means he has a Kinyan Paris. In other words, their relationship for the duration of the marriage is that of a masker to a seicher, with the woman playing the role of masker and the husband playing the role of seicher. Difference being that in Schirus, there's no such thing as open-ended schirus. We have a word for open-ended schirus. It's called sales or gifts, right? It's open-ended. Yeah, if it's got a term to it, so it's schirus. A marriage, you never know when it's going to end or who's going to die first, right? But in the lumdus of what's going on, the woman retains the kinyan aguf and the husband acquires the kinyan paris. That's what we mean when we say mashakan se'eved, mashakan isha kanabad. Oh. So Mamela, he says, forget what the Gemara answers to Rav Ilish, that get to be Rav Yankechad. The kasha of Rav Ilish is shver on the Rama. How can the Rama say that the Kinyan Chotza works for the masker when you have a setup like that, where somebody is masker a piece of land, yeah, and now something falls into the Chotza, something is put intentionally into the Chotza, a hefkedika thing lands into the Chotza. Who owns it, the masker or the Seicher? So the Rama posits the masker. If the masker owns it, yeah, now that the dying husband gifted this room to his wife, yeah, who's the master of this room and who's the seicher of this room?
The husband is the owner of the room.
No. Isha Kana Baila just means he's got a Kinyan Paris. He can still use the room.
But before she acquired the room, it's his room.
But he's giving it to her now.
At this moment, he's giving it to her?
Yeah, a couple minutes before he dies. Right, a couple minutes before he dies, he's giving
it to her.
Yeah, he's giving it to her. Right. Well, I don't know what means of kinyan they use, but maybe Zak and Shalom Shalom B'fanav. I don't even know if the woman's in the room or around. Yeah, somebody made a kinyan on the room on her behalf. Zak and Shalom B'fanav. It's considered a schus for her to be divorced before being widowed. Yeah. Okay. So how can the Rambam say that when you have a masker and a seicher, the Kinyan Chotzer belongs to the masker, then Rav Ilish has no kasha. Okay, that means that the husband is a seicher of this piece of land, even after giving it to her. Yeah, it's not even worse than if a guy off the street would give her a room, would give her a piece of land. She's the masker and he's the seicher. She owns the Kinyan Guf and he owns the Kinyan Paris. Yeah? Fine, that's enough. For her to acquire the get, that's enough. The means of acquisition, the way we want her to acquire the get, nobody's going to ask, how if you put a get in a woman's hand, how is she divorced? How is she kind of? The shal was on the get. The shal was on the piece of land that you use it as a kinyan chotzer to get her the get, right? It's not a shal according to the Rambam. Mashakana Isha Kana Baila never gives the Baal anything more than a kinyan paris, aka he is a seicher from her, without paying her rent. He's a seicher from her, all right? And the Rambam paskins, and when you have that kind of a relationship, the kinyan aguf and hence the capacity to make a kinyan chotzer is still retained by the masker. So what's Rav Ilish's kasha? Even if it wouldn't be, the Gemara starts as get to be yada bankachet. Even if it wouldn't be get to be yada bankachet, yeah. She has enough in this land. She owns enough of this land, of this room, of this chotzer, where the get is found to be kind of a get. Let it be a stutter step. Let it be sequential, not simultaneous. Huh?
So maybe his kasha is that
at 8:21, yeah, she makes a kinyan on the room, or some duly appointed representative, or somebody makes a kinyan on the room. Okay? 822, let somebody put the get in there. She'll be divorced. She owns the gufa room. He has a kinyan Paris in the room, but she owns the gufa room. She's the masker, he's the soicher. That's what Mashakana Isha Kana Baila means. He's got a kinyan Paris and things that she acquires during the marriage.
Get this chal right away.
They're right.
So what's the problem?
Quite good.
Problem is that the Gemara doesn't need its answer if the Rambam is right. The Gemara should answer like the Rambam. Forget about saying Gita v'yada bank echad. Say better. Yeah. What was your kasha mashakani shekana baila? Say v'alamden. Yeah. No, mashakani shekana baila is only for the kinyan Paris. The din is when one person has a kinyan aguf and another has the kinyan Paris, it's the one holding the kinyan aguf who can make a kinyan chatzar. Fine. So that's why she's divorced.
Right.
She owns the kinyan aguf in this land. So the get is hers. Finished.
But that's not what the...
That's not the Gemara's answer.
The Gemara said that...
If the Rambam is right, that it's the masker that retains the chutz's capacity to make kinyanim on his or her behalf, then Rav Vilish has no kasha, or at least there's a better teretz to Rav Vilish's kasha than the Gemara's alternative teretz.
Then he must think. Then the only reason why the question might be a good question is because he's somewhere different. He must be thinking different.
That's fine. There's only one problem. A Rishain cannot argue on a Gemara, just like a Meira cannot argue on a Tana. Yeah, the Rambam cannot part company with Rav Vilish. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I'm not.
So it's a kasha on the Rambam.
I'm not saying
if there's a Gemara that contradicts the Rambam's in trouble.
Okay, so I'm not saying that he's contradicting him, that he's contradicting your reason. I'm saying he's going to bring a proof or something from someone on equal footing that has a different start.
That's why I see. In the meantime, he has a very nice kasha on the Rambam. You look confused, Ayolay. What's the problem?
Just trying to hold it all together. The steps. No, the steps. The steps is that the Gemara...
Okay, you know what? Forget... I confused you by saying the Gemara's teretz. Forget the Gemara's teretz. Okay? There's a kasha on the Rambam from the Gemara's kasha. Let me set it up for you again. Okay? Reuven is dying. He's got a wife, Leah. This couple has no children.
Yeah.
Reuven has a brother, Shimon.
Right.
Okay? Reuven is frantically looking to divorce Leah so that she won't have to deal with Shimon for Yivim or Chalitza. Okay? She's not present. She's absent. Okay? He's got a get written up for her. How does he divorce her? So the Gemara suggests, here's how you divorce her. Be makna her a room, yeah, and let that room be kind of to get with something called a kinyan chatzar. Yeah? Whereas, yeah, how can you be makna her the room and thus divorce her? The din is mashakana yisha kana baila. Stop. Pause. Lamda should break down. The rule of mashakana yisha kana baila means like this. Let's say a guy off the street. Yeah. I'm tired of working this New England rocky soil. Forget it. There's a nice looking lady over there. I say, lady, how'd you like to take an acre of land off my hands? Sure, fine. Why not? You know. He gifts her the land. He tells her to make a kinyan chazaka. He tells her to make a kinyan shavruta, whatever kinyan they used. The lady acquires the land. Okay? And she decides, you know what? I'm gonna plant an herb garden in here. Yeah? When the parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme grows next spring, okay? Who takes it to market? She or her husband?
Her husband.
But who owns the rocks and the gravel and the soil itself?
She does.
She does. Says the Rambam, when you have a relationship like that, when ownership is split between Paris and Guf, aka between Seicher and Masker, Seicher being the one who owns the Paris, Masker being the one who owns the Guf, Kinyan Chatzar works for the Masker, not for the Seicher. So how can the Gemara ask, how did she acquire her get? She can't acquire her get. Doesn't matter. She retains that part of the karka that's needed to acquire the get. She's got a Kinyan Guf in the karka, albeit Mashakana Isha Kana Baila, but she retains a Kinyan Guf in the karka as long as she's got that. Kinyan Chatzar works. She can absorb the get. She can acquire the get. No differently than if you stick the get in her hand. I'm going to say Mashakana Isha Kana Baila. It's her hand. She has a yad to make kinyanim. Yeah? Okay?
Yeah.
That's the kasha. All right. Imkan on 4 lines on the bottom. Imkan the karna bal mashakanzi yisha hanel Paris. That's only for Paris. The haguf shalah. The guf hakarka still belongs to her. Imkan shapa karna la chatzir abazai. Then the chatzir properly acquired it for her.
Right.
Okay, I think this is where we got up to last time. It was a pretty lengthy chazara.
No, we didn't get that.
Yeah, no, we didn't get to do it?
No,
Okay, fine.
In the Shriv Meran.
Okay.
No.
All right, it's a beautiful kasha. It was the Minchas Chinuch, no? Very kishma dika kasha. According to what we've explained till now, the kushis Ravilish Haisa. Here was Ravilish's kasha, it shouldn't be Shana Rama. Given that Paris ain't on Shelah. Rak Nishavi Arabal. Hayais that the Paris, are not hers. Even after the Kinyan, whatever Kinyan they're using for her to acquire the chatzah, But because of the nature of a marriage and the relationship between a wife and a husband within a marriage, the husband will retain a Kinyan Paris. So therefore, Laishayich Kinyan Chazaka. So Kinyan Chazaka doesn't work. Remember the Mishnah Malach had a Chakira. He said it was a suffix to the Chachme Hadar Shalafanov. If Kinyan Chazaka works, when it's a Seicher occupied piece of land, can a new owner make a Kinyan on something that Schiris is now in effect in? Okay, so again, I didn't look up the Gemara, but apparently the Kinyan that was being used to acquire the room wherein the get was located was a Kinyan Chazaka. So there's the answer. It's no steer to the Rambam.
Why is it Kinyan Chazaka? I thought we said it's Kinyan Chatzer.
The Kinyan Chatzer is what helps the woman acquire the get. What Kinyan did she use to acquire the Chatzer that's going to help her acquire the get? Okay? So he's saying it was a Kinyan Chazaka. If you want, I can look. If I get in here, I would have to run upstairs and look at the Gemara. Okay, but I'll take his word for it, that it was a Kinyan Chazaka. I think he said close the door to the room. The get's in the room, close the door. No, is one of the kinyanim of a kinyan chazaka, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think she's the one that has to do it. Anybody staying in the room can do it on her behalf.
So she
right? Because
she is the lokeach.
She's the lokeach.
And he's the.
But she can't be lokeach more than the guf, right? It's a little bit funky because normally you have 3 parties. You have a masker, you have a seicher, masker / meicher, a seicher, and a lekeach doing the kinyan chazaka. Right? Over here it's not split into 2 bodies. The meicher is also the seicher. There's never a moment where he loses the kinyan paris. Certainly before anyone closed the door to the room on her behalf, he owned both the guf and the paris of this room. Right? But even after somebody will close the door to this room on her behalf, he still retains the kinyan paris. So the kinyan chazaka can't work.
He still retains it.
Right? Because mashakana yishakana buy leparis. She can acquire the good. So if that's the terms of the kinyan, that he'll be left with a paris even after the kinyan. So then, if the mode of kinyan chazaka, it won't work. You cannot make a kinyan chazaka on a seicher occupied, a seicher used piece of karka. Whether it's a room for rental, whether it's a field for food production.
He wasn't the seicher before he was meicher the room to her. He was just the meicher. He wasn't the seicher.
But what was the svara? The svara was that demonstration of biles of ishtamshus is meaningless if somebody else attains the ishtamshus. If she would be present, and she'd be the one closing the door. And she'd say, something, I want to go in and lay down on the sofa in the room now. I said, what are you talking about? You can't do that. That's my room. The use of the room is mine. Couldn't the husband still say that to her? So then what was it closing the door? It was a meaningless act. Right? So half an hour ago you didn't hear the other side. Now you don't hear the terrors?
So
the svara of the Chachmei Adar Shalafnei Mishal Melech, that Kinyan Chazaka cannot work when there's a seicher on the land. is that the idea, the informative concept, the conceptual idea, the theoretical underpinning of chazaka is demonstration of violence creates violence. Yeah. Hishtamshus, yeah, allows for violence / hishtamshus. But if somebody else has the hishtamshus, aka the Kinyan Paris, yeah, so then what you're doing is a farce. You don't say, by using the land, now I can use the land. It's not true. By using the land, you still won't be able to use the land. So that means you acquired nothing in the land. Right?
Right.
Okay, again, let's read step by step. His question on the Rambam. Okay, again, now I'm piecing together from memory the particulars of the Gemara. He was talking of Alma. There wasn't much time left. The guy had 5 minutes to live. Yeah? The woman is present. She's not present. Yeah? Somebody closed the door to the room where the guy is on her behalf. You'll be kind of the room with a mice in the ilu, right? We want no God of the Paretz. Those are the 3 classic permutations of Kinyan Chazaka. Okay? With a Kinyan Chazaka, she'll acquire the room. Yeah? Once she acquires the room, now she can be kind of the get with a Kinyan Chazaka. She's a divorcee. She won't fall in Yivim to the guy's brother. Fragt Rabbi in Gemara, how can that work? Mashakana Isha, Kana Baila, right? How can you say that she acquired the land with a Kinyan Chazaka? Yeah, she's still married to him. If she's still married to him, yeah, it's like he made the Kinyan Chazaka. Yeah? Then we turn into Lamdam. I'll slow down. Wait 1 second. What does that din mean? Mashakana Isha, Kana Baila. Mashakana Isha, Kana Baila means that things that the woman is kind of within the marriage, although she acquires the goof of those things, the husband has a Kinyan Paris. Okay? Precisely the role is occupied in a case of a rental or a lease by the masker and the seicher. Okay? The relationship is the woman is the masker, she retains the Kinyan Aguf. The husband, Mashakani Isha Kana Baila, says the husband has all the shtamshas and all benefit and all Paris and all produce that can come out of this land. Whether it means actual fruits and an agrarian piece of real estate, whether it means rental, whether it means using the hammock that somebody hitched between 2 trees on the land, whatever Kinyan Paris, whatever benefits accrue from the land, that's what the husband has. Okay. The Rambam says that when you have a masker and a seicher, Kinyan Chotza belongs to the masker. Kinyan Chotza belongs to the one who retains the Kinyan Aguf in the land. So how can Rav Elish ask? She shouldn't be able to acquire the land and hence not be able to acquire the get because of Mashakana Isha Kana Baila. Wrong. She closed the door, or her duly somebody on her behalf closes the door. In so doing, she acquires the Kinyan Aguf on the land, and that's all you need to acquire the get. Presto changeo, her marital status just went from married to divorce. If the Rambam is right, the Rambam must be wrong. Answers the Minchas Chinuch, not so fast. Yeah, we just said over Machlekes Mishal Melech between the Chachmei Adar Shulfanov. If a Kinyan Chazaka will work on a piece of land that's out for schiras, he tells that too to provide a solution to this problem. You know, Rabbi Elish's kasha is a good kasha, and the Rambam can still hold the shita. Very simple. Because yes, it's true that Mashakana Isha Kana Baila means the relationship is the woman, the wife is the masker, and the husband is the seicher. Yeah, and yes, it's true. The Rambam paskins that a masker is the one who has the Kinyan Chotzer. If Metalk will now fall into the Chotzer, it belongs to the masker, not to the Chotzer, right? Aha! But maybe the Rambam holds, maybe Rabbi Elish holds, maybe everybody holds, like those Chachamim in the Dar before the Mishal Melech, who held that a new kaineh, yeah, cannot use Kinyan Chazaka to acquire a Seicher occupied piece of land, a Seicher used piece of land. So what's happening when she closes the door? She's trying to use a Kinyan Chazaka to acquire a piece of land that still has a Seicher on it.
But he's not the Seicher, he's the Moicher.
But
what?
He's not the Seicher, he's the Moicher.
He's both.
He became both.
He's a Moicher, yeah, who is only selling a Kinyan Aguf. He's not selling a Kinyan Paris.
But that's not a third.
Right? And we say when you try to do that, when you're a Moicher who is currently only capable of selling a Kinyan Aguf, not a Kinyan Paris, your customer, your kaina, cannot use chazaka as a means of acquisition. They can use kesef, they can use shtar, but they can't use chazaka.
It's one and the same.
What?
The husband is one and the same. In the other case, there was a third party.
It's a chilik that is not machalik. Can you tell me why that should be machalik? So what if it's two different bodies?
Why? Because maybe simultaneously. I'm going to
No. Don't tell me the Gemara's teretz. That's the Gemara's teretz. Get to be yad ban kachad. Without using mechanisms of get to be yad ban kachad, please be machalik between the two cases for me. The svara is the same thing. The svara is that acquiring things through demonstration of usage and ownership is a farce. Yeah. If you don't acquire it, in fact, you didn't acquire it. Yeah.
But there is a chiluk.
I want to ask you a question. Okay. Let's say, okay, he brought the machlokes b'shayim if achilas peris is considered a kinyan chazaka, but let's say it would be. Okay. So let's say a meicher in a straightforward case. Reuben says to Shimon, yeah, you know something? There's not a lot of crime in this neck of Kansas. You know, where we have these big fields, miles and miles. There are no poachers. There are no land thieves. I don't have fences around. So if I don't have fences, you can't be Nile, you can't be Gaida, you can't be pirates. No, okay. Here's what we'll do. Kinyan chazaka, you don't have any cash on you. We don't have any pen and paper. We can't do shlar. We can't do kesef. Here's what you do. Okay? Take a bushel of apples. Yeah. Well, why can't I just eat an apple? Very simple. You forgot your dentures, and it was before the age of dental implants, so you can't bite down an apple. Here's what you do: take a bushel of apples down to market, yeah, and pocket the profits. Okay, that's what I used to do because I used to be the owner, right? But now I want to sell you or give you this land. So if you do that by demonstrating ownership, hishtamshus, profitability, yeah, that itself makes you into the new owner. Beautiful lumdisha thing that the Torah came up with called Kinyan chazaka. Okay? Now what happens in a rental occupied land? Reuven says to Levi, yeah, take a bushel of apples and take them down to market and sell them and pocket the profits. As he's pocketing the profits, Shimon comes running down and says, you're a thief, that's my money. He had no right to sell you that. Okay?
Why?
What?
Who's Shimon? Why?
Shimon's the new owner. I'm sorry, Shimon is the seicher. Reuven is selling a piece of land to Levi. Yeah? Means of acquisition, chazaka. Chazaka of what? Achilas Paris. Achilas Paris here meaning selling, not physically ingesting.
Right.
Okay? So, Levi listened to Reuven, like a tamavata, nice boy. He took a bushel of apples down to market, he sold them.
Shimon said, I'm renting that land right now.
That's right.
You can't do that.
That's right. Okay? That's the word.
You can't make a chazaka because I'm still the Kinyan.
Okay. So now, okay, let's say there wouldn't be a get going on over here. Okay? What would happen if, there's no get, and we're eliminating one party? It's not Reuven and Levi, it's Reuven and Leah. And Leah is married to Reuven. And Reuven says, here Leah, you know something? I like you very much. I don't know how much longer I have to live. I don't want you to get involved with Yarshim. I have children from my first wife. Okay? I want you to have this piece of land. So, but I have no money to pay for it. You have a pen and a paper? No, I don't have that either. Okay, so kesef and shtar are out of the question. Let's do this with chazaka. Okay? Go down. Take a bushel of apples. Go down to the store. Yeah? Sell the apples. Pocket the profits. No. It absolutely will not work.
No, not work.
No, because
that's his payros.
The difference is he's masking, whereas in the case of Shimon is not masking. The husband is masking to have his wife Leah acquire the payers to sell them, to take the payers to sell them in the shuk to acquire the land. But in the case
of
that's
a kinyan on the apples. It's not a kinyan on a piece of land. Mitzad what Chazal will masakin. Yeah, his kinu ma'aseh tachas mezanaseh. Yeah, mashakani yishakana bailu. Right. He wants to if he would go down with 100 bushels, right, and say, you know what, I'm giving ma'aseh to you. I'll give one ma'aseh to the Levi, one ma'aseh, then I'm giving one ma'aseh to you. Okay, I'm giving 10 bushels worth of sales to you. Go out and buy yourself a nice dress or a necklace or a mink stole. You know, yeah. That's metaltalin. That's not karka. It can't work for the You can't demonstrate ownership because it's not true. You think if the Seicher would be masking, if he'd say, okay, for the purposes of making the Kinyan, go ahead, take $10 worth of my payers. Maybe yeah, maybe no. I hear a little bit what you're saying, but I don't. To me, that's a Kinyan in the metaltalon of the apples. That's not something that. If it has to be by my largesse, so you're still not the owner.
So what you're saying
if you keep the profits of the apples because I decided to gift you a bushel of apples, that's not an owner. An owner sells the apples without anybody else's permission and pockets the profits.
So it means that if she...
Right? You hear the difference?
If the wife goes down, takes this bushel of apples and sells it, that money
belongs to the husband.
Right. Therefore, since she cannot...
Therefore, your chilik is not mechalik.
Therefore,
I've demonstrated your chilik is not
mechalik.
Right.
Because she could not keep the money from the gold to her husband.
Right. So that's hakol shar v'kayim. That's how the Rambam's psak, that a masker retains kinyachotzer, and a rabbischwartzlegacy kasha, that mashakana isha kana baila, she should be able to acquire the get through this piece of land, can peacefully coexist.
She's the masker.
What?
Because he's the masker.
She is the masker.
She's the masker.
No.
He's the seicher.
Yeah.
But you cannot make a kinyan chazaka against a seicher occupied piece of land. This room, before she'll close the door on this room, he owned everything in this room, the kinyan guf and kinyan paris. Even after she'll close the door on this room, he will retain the kinyan paris.
Yeah.
If so, her closing the door was nonsense.
So
how did she close the door? She kept the draft down, but she didn't acquire anything. She acquired the shtamshus? No, she didn't. He retained the shtamshus.
So then wait a minute.
It's two different gedarim. Don't you understand? To affect the kinyan chatzor, you need to own the guf, right? But to be payol a kinyan chazaka on karka, you need to get hishtamshus through your act of hishtamshus.
So I have a question. Since this doesn't help and she cannot make kinyan chazaka, how can she be the masker? How can she have ownership in the guf if she could not make a kinyan chazaka because whatever she would do with this would not help?
That's not kasha. That's a teretz. That is why Rabbi asks, how can this woman be divorced this way? She will not be divorced this way, precisely.
She cannot make a kinyan chazaka.
Right.
Which means she can't be a masker either. She can't be the masker.
Right. And therefore this room will not be kind of her to get with a kinyan. We could care less about the room. Don't you understand? The room is an artifice. The room is just a vehicle, not an example. It's a vehicle for her to get the get.
Yeah.
We could care less about really, but in point of the tackles over here is a shchiv mirah. He's trying to save his wife from dealing with his brother after he dies. Right? How do we make the get work?
Okay,
that's the question.
Without that,
right?
How do we get her to own the thing there?
Well, that's the only way that with her absent. That is the only way that Rava came up with for her acquiring the get, right? So Rabbi Elish's kasha
doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. That's what
if he gives her a matana that she.
Oh, let's slow down. You're reading ahead. Okay, cheater. Okay, let's read a little bit. Okay, for those of you watching on ToraniTime.com, we've turned the page. We are now on in Chelik Beis in the Machon Yerushalayim. Print, we are on Omud Taf Kuf Chaf, right at the top, the upper right hand corner. Okay? The Mali in what difference does it make in terms of the inadequacy of a Kinyan Chazaka, if the Kinyan Paris belongs to a third party, or they're retained by the attempting to sell Meicher? Right? Paris. To make it really simple, let's say like this. No Levi. Reuven and Shimon. Okay? Reuven wants to sell Levi a piece of land like this. So listen, Levi. I'm sorry, why did I say Levi again? Reuven and Shimon. Okay? Reuven says to Shimon, you don't have money? You don't have a handkerchief, you can't do chalipin. You don't have money, you can't do kesef. Neither of us have pen and paper, can't do shlam. There's only one thing to do, chazaka. Okay? Here's what we're going to do. Lamaisa, you want to buy the land right now, but I still need to get one crop out of the ground. Okay? I plowed, I sowed, I fertilized, I put a lot of kaiches into it. He said, well, I can't wait till you reap. I want to buy it today. Okay, so here's what we'll do. You'll buy it today, but I'll own the payments for another 6 months, till the next crop is in. Okay, how do I buy it? Oh, I don't know, put a nail in the fence, lock the door. Take the payrus down to market, the couple of paths, it's an orchard with a lot of different trees growing on it. Some trees ripen earlier in the season. I already bought in the cherry crop. Go sell a bushel of cherries down at the market. Would that work? No. I mean, again, if you hold like those chachamim of the Mishnah Lamelech, who hold that a kinyan chazaka can't work on a seicher owned piece of property. The point is, I still have the kinyan payrus. You don't have ishtamshus. A kinyan of demonstration of bailos and ishtamshus can't work if you don't acquire that kind of bailos of ishtamshus. It's as simple as that. Okay, that's what's going on here with the room that he's trying to gift to his wife. After her representative will close the door, he'll still have ishtamshus. It doesn't work. So then closing the door was meaningless. Okay. How do you say go and have her lock the door, close the door? Or her, I don't think she's present. I think this means somebody else. If she be present, maybe doesn't have the kayach to put it into her hand anymore. Maybe that's the problem. I don't remember the Gemara clearly. But whatever, putting it into her hand is not an option. The only way for her to acquire the get is to acquire the room and the get through a kinyan chatzah. So hainu kinyan chazaka, yeah. So how could it be? So he answers like this: the truth is that payrus do not belong to the Baal. Why? When a Baal echel payrus, here there's a split, and another big difference between the relationship between a wife and a husband, and have a knaini and an od.
You can gift her the.
When a husband gives a wife a gift. He's not selling her a piece of karka. Yeah? If he would sell her, then she gets the goof, but he returns the payrus. But if he's giving her as a gift a piece of karka, then not only does she get the goof, she gets the payrus too. All right? Okay, you can't say that this wasn't a kinyan outright. He was only lending her the courtyard / the room for the purposes of acquiring a get. The Rambam again holds just like a masker and a seicher. Yeah, the masker, the one retaining the kinyan aguf, is the one who still retains the kinyan chatzar capabilities. So too by a mashal and a shayla, a lender and a borrower, same thing. Okay, it's right the same thing. The difference between a real estate loan and a real estate rental, is that there's no money involved. But in terms of the structure of the arrangement, they're identical. Somebody owns the kinyan aguf and another person owns the kinyan payrus. So the Rambam is consistent. The Rambam who holds that the masker has a kinyan chatzar and karka that he's being masker out, also holds the mashal. So that approach isn't going to work. He didn't lend her the room, he's giving her the room outright. If he's giving her the room outright, then she has a kinyan payrus too. He does not retain the kinyan payrus after the kinyan. If she retains the kinyan, if he does not retain the kinyan payrus, then there's no impediment, there's nothing in her way for her to acquire the get.
That's why that's why a matana in English is called a gift.
Right.
Because the woman gets a goof plus.
What?
Is the plus.
Okay, submitted to the author of Safa Achas, who made a career. A career had a showing how English words are rooted in Torah concepts.
It's a goof plus. Goof.
Gift.
Goof. Gift.
Okay. Yeah, a plus sign looks like a T.
Yeah.
It's a gooft. Okay.
The goof plus the payros.
The payros, listen, the payros are fruit.
Gentlemen, with a few minutes we have left, let's try to finish the end of the shtickle. Therefore, you must say, like the second teretz, the tais is kiven dani chayla limkar einshav v'leikasha mikan al rambam v'ikakasha mikayin l'zeh the maksha shas chatzera einshav b'sugit. Okay. Let's. I'm not sure what those last couple of lines mean, quite frankly, and my head is spinning. I don't know at this point. Is the Rambam good or no good? Let's just try to put on our thinking caps for a second. So, if you give it as a gift, yeah. So then I don't understand. I would have to look up the Tais there. Now I'm lost. I'm not lost in the Rambam. I'm lost in Shakatari of the Gemara over there. So what's Rabbi Lush's kasha? Even before the Gemara's teretz of Git to the Yavad and Kachet. If the din is that when you give it as a gift, yeah, she's got Saya Kinyan Paris and Saya Kinyan Aguf. What's Rabbi Lush asking? Not Shekansi, Shekansi Bible. It's not.
There is a good Kinyan Chazaka here. She owns it.
Yeah, if the husband after the Kinyan, after she closes the door, does not retain a Kinyan Paris in this room, yeah, then what should be standing in the way of her Kinyan Chazaka? And the Kinyan Chazaka is a fine Chazaka. Yeah. Should be. Okay, I'm a little lost here. I would have to look up the dice. Okay, all right. Let me turn off the soundtrack here.